Hi, everyone. It is Danielle Marie from the One Realty here in Austin, Texas. And I am doing one of my, first lives that we've had here on streaming. So bear with me. I know some people have hopped on before as I've been trying to figure out a little bit of my streaming. But today, what I really want to do for people is in Texas, we are a non-disclosure state. Well, what does that mean? That means essentially you can't go anywhere to actually find out what houses closed at. So in order to find out what a house closed at, you're probably going to have to ask a real estate agent. So I'm going to try and share some of the information about what has happened in real estate here in Austin, Texas for the month of August. That you can't find this data anywhere else because this data, we're non-disclosure state, you won't see it. So first and foremost, let's talk a little bit about August. So August of 24. It wasn't what it was all cracked up to be as far as where we've been in the past. So historically, we had an average of about 1,046 homes would sell. And we knew from what had happened last month that things weren't looking so great. So to give you an idea of where we sold in July, so July we sold 715 homes in July. So we are going into August and we're knowing that we're already below where August of 23. So August of 23 was 830 homes sold in August of 23, and we're trying to beat that. Well, looking at July at 715 didn't look too great. Historically selling 1,046 homes. So let's look at August 24. So August 24, great news. We actually beat our low. So if we go from 2005 to last year, we actually beat our low. Our low was 648 homes were sold in 2010. In August, we sold 677 homes. So yes, we beat our low, but we're like almost half below our average homes, which is crazy that we're that low. Next, if we want to look at August of 23 and we want to compare it to this August of 24, we were 153 homes down from sales. So we were about 18.43% down in home sales in August of 24 compared to August of 23. So keep that 677 number in mind. That's how many have closed out to date. It's 10 September. So hopefully all those agents have put in their sales. Now, once again, this is public sales. Here's the big kicker. We always talk about prices in Austin. People want to know, hey, what is our price in Austin? What are we doing? How is that changing? Also, if you're joining me, feel free to leave some comments. If you're on X, I'll be able to see it. But in average price of houses that sold in August for 2024, our average price was $833,000. That was our average. Our median was $617,000. Now, I can just put that out there, but you really want to compare what happened last year to see kind of where we're going, because the sky is falling, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. Well, we definitely went up at the beginning of the year. Great news is that we're still higher than where we were. Great news if you're a seller. If you're a buyer, I say take this with a grain of salt, because at the end of the day, I think we're going to see some trends of prices going downwards for at least a couple more months. But where did we sell in August of 23? So August of 23, our average was $790,000. So that's about $43,000 less than this year. So we are up 5.45% year over year. That's not bad, a 5.45% year over year. Now, what people will go to is say, okay, well, how does that compare to July? So we just were in July and we know we sold 715 homes. What was our average price in July? Well, our average price in July was $817,000. So this month in August at 833, we are still up $16,000 higher. So it's just shy of a 2%. So that's I say positive indication, at least, that we didn't fall off in August. Next, we want to look at days on market. So the reason, okay, real quick, that was our average. Our median is always significantly lower because we have some really expensive houses in Austin. So if we look at our median sold price for what happened in August, you're going to see $617,000 was our median. Compare it to last year. Last year was $610,000. So we're about 1.23% higher. Nothing major. Now, this is where the kicker goes back into what we're seeing month over month trends, and we're seeing the decline is if we look at what happened in July of 24. So 2 months ago, essentially. So August, we were at 617. If we look at July, in July, we were at 620,000 was our median. So down about not even a 0.5%, but it was down a little bit. So that just means that the kind of the lower price homes either selling, or the other kicker is it's actually going to be what was the close percentage, like so close price to list price or close price to original list price. That's where we kind of saw it drop off a little bit. So with that being said, let's talk about the close price to the list price. So where are we now? If you're making offers out here, this is one of the things that I'm pulling for all of my clients. We're talking about close price to list price and close price to original list price, both my sellers and my buyers. And it's really important for my sellers because that's going to tell us kind of how active the market is and what people are as far as percentage wise, so that when we figure out what you want to net, as well as what is the most strategic for you so that you don't chase the price, but you're ahead of the price, that's kind of where we're going to also look. And that's a strategic discussion not to be had today on this one. We can talk about it later. But okay, so our average close price to list price. So list price is what it's currently listed at when it goes under contract. For August of 24 was we were at 96.83%. So a little over 3% under list price is what the average house sold for in Austin in August. Once again, if you're just joining us now, this is stuff that you're not going to get online because we are a non-disclosure state. You're not going to find all this stats. So you have to talk to an agent that's got this information. But so we were a little bit under 3% was our average close price to list price. If we look at our median was a lot. It was our median was actually a little bit higher. It was at 97%. So the middle house was at 97%. So about a 3%. Now, how does that compare once again to last year? Where were we this year compared to last year? So we actually at 0.09% was our close price to list price. So very similar with that 96% plus some compared this year to last year as far as our average. If our median, we're about 1% off. Now, here's where it gets, because list prices, people have already had price reductions. And so we're talking about that and we know, hey, the house has been listed. If we look at close price to list price, it's what it's currently listed at. Okay, great. That gives us a good idea. But what was it originally listed at? And this is where it's really going to give an idea of the market, because original list price might have been significantly higher and they lowered it. So if we look at close price, the average close price to the original list price, this year, we were at a 92.25%. So we were, we're looking at, we were a little under 3% for our close price, but then we're down at 92. So that was like another 3% down below, I say below what the original list price is. So if we compare that to where we were last year's close price to original list price was at 93%. So it was like a 0.75% higher. Not too much of a difference. And then when we go down to median close price to original list price, once again, we were at 94% for close price to original list price. And if we compare that to median close price to original list price, we are at 95% last year. So it's about a 1% drop, which that can get kind of bad. That's kind of like foretelling of, hey, that's where it was last year. The market compared to this year, we're already a little bit slower this year. If we look at it, last year's numbers, our close price to original list price, we were at 96%. So that's about a 2% drop. As well as if we look at average close price to original list price, we're down 1.63. So all in all, what that's kind of saying is that we are seeing the market compared to last year, we are weaker. We are already closing at a lower percentage. So that would dictate, hey, we're probably going to see continued prices to fall. Now, with that being said, this is what happened. So we're looking at August numbers. This is probably houses that contracted most likely in July or beginning of August. So what that means is that was before we saw we saw a reduction in mortgage interest rates. So we've seen that. We dropped below 7%. We are in the sixes. We are actually in we're at like a 6.23%. So we're probably going to see some more activity in this next month. I don't think that we're going to see any increase in our close price to original list price. So where we're closing at compared to where we're listing at, we're probably going to be very similar, if not maybe a little bit under. Are we going to see huge price swings down? I think from the sellers that I've talked to and from the buyers I've talked to, number one, buyers are still going out there to get a deal. Can you get a deal? Yes. You just have to find the right seller. Sellers, on the other hand, it's just going to depend on what their motivation is to sell. I have sellers that are like, hey, if I get this price, I'm willing to move. I have other sellers that say, hey, look, this is my price and I'm sticking to it. And then I've got the third group that say, hey, I owe taxes, or I've got to move somewhere, I had a baby, or I'm going through a divorce. Those are the people that are kind of be a little bit more motivated to sell. So that's a good thing is when you have your agent too, if you can do any detective work and find out why they're selling, a good agent's going to keep that close if you are the listing agent. If you are a buyer's agent and you're able to get that out of the listing agent, that's going to really help give you a headspace of where that seller is at. Also, I always encourage people to go back and look at tax records, and we got to figure out what they bought it for. Well, through the MLS, but then sometimes it's nice to see is what's their mortgage? What did they have on their mortgage? Is it an FHA or VA? Can you assume it? Because if you can assume it and they bought it and they refied, or they bought it in 2022 or 2021, you might be looking at like a 2.5%, 3.5%. So, but with that, I hope you enjoy. This is my first ever stream. I am just figuring it out. So I appreciate you bearing with me. And I would love to do a lot more of these, not only on what are the stats for the market, but also what other people are looking for to find out in the Austin market. One thing to keep in mind is these are general stats. If you see the Austin Board of Realtor stats, there's a really, really pretty pictogram that goes out, talks about stats. Pay attention. These stats I just quoted are all for single family homes. When you get to that stat, they're talking single family homes with condos, with townhouses. So obviously you're going to see a lower average list price. You're seeing a lower average sales price, but that's because of the type of units they're putting in. So all the data I gave to you today is for single family homes. I'll probably go ahead and do a luxury one if you're interested in. Feel free to follow me, shoot me a DM. If you want to have some information for a specific area, love to hop on a Zoom call and talk to you. But with that, my name is Danielle Marie. I'm from the One Realty here in Austin, Texas, and I hope you have a beautiful evening.